The air in the courtroom was heavy, almost suffocating, as if everyone present knew that something explosive was about to happen. This wasn't just another legal proceeding. It felt like the moment years of hidden truths and unspoken resentments were finally being dragged into the light. One by one, secrets that had lived in the shadows of the Brown family were laid bare, and every single revelation cut deeper than the last. Betrayal wasn't just whispered about anymore. It was on full display for the world to see. And at the center of it all stood Kody and Robyn. Once united as husband and wife, today they faced each other in a way that no one could have predicted when she first joined the family. The trust that once bound them had fractured, leaving behind accusations, defenses, and a tidal wave of emotion that could not be contained. It wasn't only about money or property. It was about loyalty, honesty, and the very foundation of a family that had built its image on unity. Hi friends, I'm Sophia, and welcome back to TLC's Sister Wives World. If you love following the real stories, the raw truths, and the emotional journeys of this family, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a moment, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I always want to hear how you're feeling about what's really happening behind the cameras. Because what we're talking about today isn't just drama. It's the breaking point of trust, where the image of a united family shattered right before everyone's eyes. To understand how we even got to this courtroom showdown, we have to step back and look at the foundation of this family. The Browns were once introduced to the world as a symbol of unity and faith, a polygamous family determined to prove that love and commitment could stretch across multiple marriages. For years, that image was carefully maintained, even as cracks slowly began to show. Financial stress, unequal relationships, and the constant struggle for attention all chipped away at the harmony they wanted viewers to believe in. When Robyn entered the family, she wasn't just another wife, she became the turning point. At first, Kody presented her as the woman who completed the family, someone who would bring peace and balance. But over time, fans began to notice how much more attention, time, and energy Kody poured into her compared to Meri, Janelle, and Christine. The favoritism was impossible to ignore, and with it came suspicion and resentment. Money has always been a sensitive issue in this family. From the very beginning, they struggled to balance the costs of multiple households, relocations, and everyday expenses. The Sister Wives episodes showed moments of open frustration, especially when Christine and Janelle questioned where the family's funds were really going. Robyn's role in handling finances only made those concerns louder, especially when her lifestyle seemed different from the others. By the time the courtroom doors opened, the tension had already been brewing for years. The foundation of trust had been shaken so many times that all it took was one spark to set the whole thing on fire. That spark came in the form of Kody, no longer protecting Robyn, but instead presenting evidence that suggested she hadn't been honest with him, or with anyone else. This wasn't just a family argument anymore. It was the beginning of a very public reckoning, where every decision, every secret, and every hidden truth would be tested under the weight of legal scrutiny. And as the first pieces of evidence came forward, it became clear. The story the Browns had told the world was very different from the reality they were living. The first crack in Robyn's carefully built image came the moment financial records were brought forward. For years, money had been a sore subject in the Brown family, but in the courtroom, it wasn't just a matter of opinion or suspicion. There were documents, numbers, and undeniable proof. Kody presented the records with a kind of determination that stunned those who knew how often he once defended Robyn. The focus fell on property, specifically a house that Robyn had not been open about. Fans of Sister Wives remember how much drama there had always been over buying land, building homes, and sharing resources. Christine had openly voiced her frustrations about not feeling financially secure, while Janelle often carried the heavy load of budgeting and long-term planning. Yet here, in black and white, was evidence suggesting Robyn had been keeping an entire property out of the family's shared financial picture. At first, Robyn tried to stay composed, insisting that misunderstandings were being twisted into accusations. But as the documents were read aloud, the atmosphere shifted. Every new line made it harder for her to explain why these decisions had been hidden. The other wives sat in silence, their expressions a mix of shock, disappointment, and grim recognition. For them, this wasn't just about a house. It was confirmation of what they had long suspected, that resources were not being shared equally, and that promises of unity had been broken. The gallery reacted with whispers, gasps, and the kind of restless "Urgy, you only feel when truth collides with denial." Kody's tone grew sharper as he pressed the issue, almost as if years of frustration were spilling out all at once. This was not the man who once bent over backwards to defend Robyn's choices. In that moment, it was clear he saw her actions as betrayal, not just against him, but against the entire family. What made this revelation sting the most was that it wasn't just about numbers. It was about trust. Money may be replaceable, but honesty isn't. And when the first financial secret came to light, it opened the door to a flood of even deeper betrayals waiting to be revealed. If the hidden property had rattled the courtroom, the next wave of revelations nearly broke it apart. What began with real estate soon expanded into a trail of paperwork, emails, letters, and quiet transactions that painted a much larger picture. These weren't rumors. These weren't family disagreements. These were receipts, the kind of evidence that strips away every layer of denial. The first blow came with bank statements showing transfers that hadn't been disclosed. In a family where every penny had supposedly been pooled together, seeing Robyn's name attached to accounts outside the family budget was like a knife to the heart. Kody laid it out methodically, almost coldly, forcing everyone in the room to confront the reality that money had been moved in secret. For Janelle, who had spent years stressing over finances, this wasn't just shocking. It was devastating. But it didn't stop there. Letters surfaced, too. Private communications that hinted at plans and intentions no one else in the family had been told about. One by one, they were read aloud, and each one pulled another layer off the carefully managed story of unity that Robyn had clung to for years. Her posture stiffened, her voice wavered, but she couldn't make the evidence disappear. Then came the emails, and that's when the tension reached its peak. These weren't vague notes. They were explicit conversations about hiding certain decisions, keeping matters between her and Kody, and ensuring the other wives weren't fully in the loop. The gasps from the gallery grew louder with every line. Even the judge seemed unsettled as the pile of evidence grew taller. Robyn tried to interject, insisting context was being ignored, that these were misunderstandings blown out of proportion, but the weight of the paper trail was undeniable. It was the kind of proof that no amount of tears or explanations could erase. And here was the turning point. It was no longer just about one house or one account. This was a pattern, a deliberate decision to conceal, to control, and to prioritize her own security over the family she once claimed to cherish. The courtroom wasn't just witnessing secrets. It was witnessing trust unravel piece by piece. By the time the paper trail had been laid bare, the courtroom felt like it was holding its breath. Robyn, who had walked in with her shoulders squared and her voice steady, was no longer the same woman sitting at that table. The mask she had worn for so long, the calm, collected, and loyal wife, was cracking in real time. Her voice trembled as she tried to respond, her hands shook, and eventually, the tears came. At first, her emotions seemed to soften the room. Some spectators shifted uncomfortably, as if seeing her cry made the entire ordeal feel too personal, too raw. But others weren't moved. The other wives especially sat frozen in their seats. Christine's eyes, sharp and unwavering, seemed to carry years of resentment. For her, this wasn't just about hidden money. It was about years of feeling sidelined, undervalued, and ignored, while Robyn enjoyed privileges the rest of them were denied. Janelle, ever practical, had a different reaction. Her face was tight, her jaw set. She'd been the one who crunched numbers, who stressed over budgets, who sacrificed time and energy to keep the family afloat. Watching Robyn cry over being exposed felt more like insult than tragedy. Meri, meanwhile, sat quietly, torn between her complicated loyalty to Kody and the undeniable truth playing out before her. Robyn's breakdown grew heavier with each attempt to explain. She insisted she had acted with good intentions, that circumstances had been misinterpreted, that she never meant to hurt anyone, but every word sounded smaller against the mountain of proof already on the record. For the audience, both in the courtroom and at home, her tears didn't erase the betrayal, they amplified it. Kody's demeanor during this moment was telling. He didn't comfort her, didn't step in to ease her pain. Instead, he remained firm, his body language sharp, almost as if he had been waiting for this mask to finally fall away. For years, he had defended her at all costs. Now, he seemed almost determined to let her stand alone. The emotional fallout was devastating. The courtroom was no longer just a legal setting. It was a theater of heartbreak, where the illusion of family unity shattered for good. In that moment, Robyn wasn't just losing credibility. She was losing the very role she had built her identity on. And for everyone watching, it became clear that the fallout of these secrets would echo far beyond those four walls. As the dust settled in that courtroom, what remained was not just a pile of documents or a list of accusations. It was the undeniable collapse of an image that had been carefully constructed for over a decade. The Brown family was once held up as proof that love, faith, and commitment could hold a polygamous marriage together. But in this moment, the illusion was shattered. What people saw instead was a story as old as time: favoritism, broken promises, and the destruction that comes when trust is betrayed. This wasn't just about one wife hiding assets or one husband turning on his partner. It was about the way families fracture when truth is withheld. The Browns had built their legacy on the idea of unity, but the reality revealed in court showed that unity was often a mask, one that covered jealousy, inequality, and resentment. For the audience watching, the meaning was clear. Fans of Sister Wives have long debated whether Kody and Robyn's relationship was ever truly fair to the other wives. The courtroom confirmed what many suspected, that the balance had never been equal, and that the costs of that imbalance had been carried by everyone else. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was emotional. It was years of sacrifices made by Christine, Janelle, and Meri, only to discover that loyalty was not reciprocated. But perhaps the deepest reflection comes when we think about what this says about family itself. Families, no matter how they are structured, cannot survive on creasy. They cannot thrive when one person benefits at the expense of everyone else, and they cannot heal when honesty is sacrificed to protect appearances. For Kody, this trial marked a breaking point where he chose exposure over protection. For Robyn, it revealed the dangers of clinging to control at any cost. And for the other wives, it was the painful vindication of everything they had tried to voice for years. To the viewers, it's more than drama. It's a reminder that what we see on television is often a carefully curated mask, and that behind closed doors, even the strongest seeming families can crumble. And maybe, just maybe, it's a call to reflect on our own lives, to ask ourselves if honesty, equality, and respect are really at the center of the families we build. Because when those values are lost, no courtroom is needed to reveal the truth. The cracks will always find their way to the surface. What we witnessed in that courtroom was more than just a legal battle. It was the moment the curtain dropped on years of secrets. Kody's revelations about Robyn's hidden dealings didn't just expose finances, they exposed the very heart of betrayal that tore this family apart. And now, the question lingers. Where does the Brown family go from here, and can there ever be real trust again? I'm Sophia, and this is TLC's Sister Wives World. If you were stunned by what unfolded, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you really on? Don't forget to hit subscribe, because we're just getting started, and you won't want to miss what comes next.